knees and everything. You're monitoring his loads and stuff, but him running around, getting the feel, he's looking like last year's Marquise. And then, those interior guys, the linebackers, Javen, John, Giff in there in the middle too. I think all those guys are doing a nice job of running around, communicating well, playing fast. We got to continue to develop the guys, the next level of guys. Mario Buford's one, Dwight Boodle's out there making some plays, Sierra Wright's out there making some plays. That second group of DBs, we're trying to get them a lot of reps, a lot of situations, so they can advance their learning and throw them on the grass. And Coach did that today. So, and it's just that week of camp where you're trying to not only challenge them physically, because you're hitting that mark where their bodies are beat up and all that stuff, but also mentally in all those situations. So that way, when those situations arise in the game, that you know how to act. So.
Can you assess that second corner spot after Tommy Hill? I know Jeremiah Charles dinged his shoulder, which was what are the prospects there?
Yeah, that thing is rotating every day. I think the whole secondary is rotating through there, getting a lot of guys, a lot of different spots, a lot of reps at different spots. Coach Butler's doing a really nice job of that. I mean, you got Dwight Boole's out there, Sierra Wright's out there. I mean, Jeremiah's out there. Bly's been on the side and he's working his way back well. Amari Sanders is a guy who's really standing out amongst those young guys and getting a lot of reps at corner. I mean, it's really day by day, who's excelling, who's really performing at practice. And then, like I said, John is rotating guys through there so we can see guys at different areas, We're putting a field safety at boundary, putting a corner at field safety, guys around so we have some flexibility.
When you have three offensive linemen down like last week, did you adjust as a defensive coordinator how you do things?
No. I mean, they're gonna three guys go down. They're gonna have three that come up. You know what I mean? So it's just concentrating on what we want to run. Seeing the good and bad and seeing what we need to fix schematically, but more importantly, again, the standard of how we do things is the most important thing. It don't matter what you run, 4-3, 3-4, all that stuff don't matter if you can't run, if you can't tackle, if you can't get off of blocks, and you don't have the right attitude. So that's the main thing. You're trying to assess from that group. Not only holding the black shirts, those first guys, to a high standard and make sure they act right every day, but it's that second and their chemistry. And a guy, Kobe Bretts, he's a guy who played last year, and we were moving him around a little bit in the off season, and then we put him at Rover, and so now he's starting to hit his groove, and he's starting to make some plays back there, and you're starting to notice him and feel him in some spots where he needs to be. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is making sure that we advance all those guys, hold the first guys that we know they can play to a standard, and also advance that next group up so they can help in the long run.
Tony, what do you think coming out of the scrimmage when you're in a situation early in camp, and it's the first time you've gone live like that? Do you expect your to be a little bit ahead? Is it just kind of the flow of the way that preseason camp goes, with the defense an edge maybe at the beginning?
I think the football moniker is that the defense is always ahead early, right, because of offensive timing and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think we tackled very well the very first scrimmage. It was just first time. I get it, but just like Coach said, you want to see the things you practice and preach every day. You want to see it show up on the grass live. Get the coaches out there, get all the cameras out there, and let them play ball. And it didn't show up like it needed to. Not with the group that we have. So that's been something that's bugging all of us, is that making sure that we stress the tackling. We want to be a great tackling team. And then again, it's the situations, just consistently having the guys think about what situation they're in and how they should react, so that way when it gets to those close games that we come out on top. So
how do you guys maybe incorporate some of the new tech, the helmet microphone stuff? What is that going to look like?
Yeah, I mean, it's evolving. I was doing it at first. I was communicating with the guys, and then gave it over to Rob Dvorak, and so he was starting to communicate with the guys in between the series and stuff like that, and in between plays. So we're always moving things around, trying to figure out how to do that. Coach wants us to be the best sideline team in the country, with the replay stuff and with the sideline communication. So again, we're just trying to figure out the best way that is. So we're having multiple guys communicate with those guys, see what process we want to use.
whoever's wearing the green dot, how have you seen them respond to that communication?
Good. I actually joke around with them a lot. You know, I talk about their girlfriends not coming to family night, and you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. But in terms of the on the grass communication, we try to keep it to a very minimum. You know what I mean? Like there's a million things going on in their head as the play starts. You don't want to just start talking to them for no reason. You know what I mean? You want valuable information. So if you see a clue or something, you tell them, but otherwise you try to stay off and let them play ball.
Who are the guys that are wearing that right now?
Right now we're moving around, so sometimes it's John, sometimes it's Giff, sometimes it's Kobe, sometimes it's Buddha, sometimes, so it's constantly moving around just in case, you know, with injuries and all that stuff, a guy's got to get used to being in the helmet, you know.
How do you feel about that linebacker spot? I think Coach Rule said on Saturday, you want at least 3 guys, but 4 is great. How do you size it up right now?
Still going through. You know, I mean, you got John who can play, you got Buddha who can play, and those guys, it's about holding them to the standard and making sure that they progress their leadership skills and stuff like that. But then you got that next group. You know, you got Vincent Shavers who's doing a great job running around. He's young, he's raw, but I mean, the guy's explosive and he's aggressive as all heck. We got to tone him down a lot of times in practice. You got Steph Thompson who is running around and starting to find his groove in there. You got Mackay, who's like a starter. I mean, he's running around like a starter, can play all 3 positions in there. And then you got some guys who starting to stand out too. I mean, Jacob Bauer, you know, he's running around and making plays, and he had a couple nice plays out there today. And then Gage Stenger, who's a guy who's been around and just slowly increased and improved and moved positions, and you know, his strength is increasing, his body weight's increasing, and then now all that stuff is showing up, you know, part of the process. So you got a good group in there that'll all rotate in there and play, and I think Rob's doing a great job of giving them the skills to help them go out there and perform.
What's it like for you having Potenza in an on-field role, and how do you see things progressing at that jack spot?
Yeah, I mean, we've never had that before. We've never had that specification before, and so Coach said it in the offseason, it'd be good, especially, you know, he was thinking that the rules are going to pass like that. So Jack had normally been like a defensive line, helping with the defensive line. So a lot of that stuff the Jack actually does, so the expertise spilled over. But he's done a nice job, you know, of not only playing on the grass, but learning, taking coaching. You know, Coach Rule sees something, I see something, listening to T. Knight. You know, he's a young coach that's growing. There's going to have growing pains, but you see the enthusiasm behind it. You see the willingness to learn and be in here early and stay late for those guys. So he's doing a nice job.
When is the point where you start introducing some UTEP and kind of zoning in on the open?
When Coach says.
You know.
Usually it's like 10 days. You know, that again, football moniker-wise, it's like 10 days out. You don't want to get the game plan too stale. You know, and there's a lot of things we're correcting on the grass right now. But in terms of coaching-wise, we're going through. We did it once in the spring, and then with all the additions and stuff, you know, we just started doing it again. So our process is correct in terms of how we're going to present, how we're going to see things, how we want to attack things like that. So we've been doing that, but. You never want to start too early. It's a delicate balance, right? You never want to start too early, but you definitely want to use the time to your advantage.
How does James Williams build on his first season this year?
Good. I mean, again, you see him, and he's bigger, stronger, faster. He knows the defense. So, you know, a lot of times it's the maturity aspect, right? It's the hey, I know I can do something. I know I can do it right. So therefore, I should do it right all the time. I should act this way. I should be here. I should. You know, so with James, that's the only person that's going to stop James is James. You know, as he's got to continue to grow, he's got to continue to progress, he's got to continue to do things the right way, understand the process, and adopt the process and be about it. And like I said, when you get him on the grass and you just let him go and you let him play, and he knows what to do, he's a special player. But it doesn't mean anything if you don't operate right in all the other facets. You know, so. But he'll be okay. The great thing about that is that the other defensive linemen, that group is really tight, and you know they hold each other accountable to a high standard. So when one guy acts up, you know you got to answer to Nash and Ty and those older guys, and so sometimes they don't like that. So we'll see.
Hey, you've seen 2 weeks of Butler's coaching style now. How is he making those guys better?
Yeah, again, when you're around him, the football experience and the knowledge, but the one thing that's really cool with JB is that you know he's humbled to the point of like, hey, this is how we do it. You know, he may have done it differently at different places and stuff, but this is our way. And he's constantly changing terminology, constantly like absorbing all that stuff and fitting it in, as well as being able to speak up and say, hey, I like these things in coverage. I like to do this. I like to do this. Let's see, can we do this? You know, so and I think in terms of the guys, they know football, you know, and they know who can really help them in football. And when you're around him, you guys heard him. I mean, he's good at what he does, you know, and he's good around the guys, and he knows football. And so those guys are taking it to him. You know, they're starting to joke around with him and all that stuff. So it's fun to see out there. And then at the end of the day, like, he coaches them hard. You know, he coaches them hard, which, you know, in this defense with the DBs, having 5 DBs out there for the run and pass, you got to be coached hard. You know, great players want to be coached hard. So it's really refreshing to have them in the room. Thank you, guys.